so late, April 23rd. I was just trying to navigate this test a little bit. We'll get to that. Oh, I got to turn off the radio and get to it. I'll put my headpiece on, my trusty headpiece, so everyone could hear. Sometimes after a long day, I'm a little scattered. All right, guys. All right, so sometimes you look back and you're like, again, we try and give ourselves grades on how we traded, how we stayed with things, and I don't know. Think about it to yourself. How'd you grade? How'd you do? I came out on our private Twitter and in a thing saying that I did buy my wife's Blood in the Street account on Friday, and the S&P was like a 49.60-ish on the close. And that move, we bought some spies and stuff because we've done this numerous times over the course of the past few years, and every time I feel like I put her account to work, I'm always like, I got to put at least money to work in my swing account, because if that's happening in her account, typically we're very oversold. From 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 down days, besides that overnight flash from the surprise, Israel bombs that were deemed de-escalating. But anyway, so for that account, it stays in. So far, she's up 2%. For our purposes of what we do to get paid for April and May, I do it differently because obviously, you know, you have to time things better. But we did buy the 499s and did buy the, and then yesterday I had a nice move up to 502, and then today you could have bought through 502, went to 506. My call was 504 to 506. We hit 506, and did pretty well. I turned the 499s were awesome, and also on the spies yesterday, and then with 502s I sold the 505, so I'm capped out. So that was a nice trade. And then the Qs also this morning or yesterday, you guys saw me take the Qs long. This was my target, resistance 1, 424 to 426. I did get out closer to the 424 portion, which kind of annoys me. Chances are this could see higher. This is just the 8-day. Here's no man's land. It can get there, and then here the moving average is curling down, and this is where it broke down from, 432, 433. So we'll see how it goes. Some people are like, hey, Red Dog, what do you think of the spies now? Like, is it over? Is it the end of the is it the end of the decline? Well, I know it's Tuesday. It happened pretty fast. So if we pack and fill a little bit tomorrow, and Meta comes through, chances are you could see the 509, or 509 to 512. So although this was your easy portion to be long, it doesn't mean you could just short there. That was the moral of the story, is you just don't short there because you're getting out. You don't have to get out and flip. You can get out and wait. But here's that spot. So it wouldn't be bad if we get like an inside day here, like tomorrow, if we get some inside action, like where we open down a little bit and come in here and then take this out to 509 versus just a quick snapback, like a V bottom, and then it could some people are like, well, Red Dog, what do you think? Use your forward-looking, telepathic, whatever you think I have. Well, if we got to 509, and then it wants to come in, maybe you do the V turns into a higher low W, or if it continues right to 512, that's it's probably higher than some of the shorts would want. But either which way, you don't know. We'll see what happens tomorrow. At this point, I took it off. Okay, I don't have any risk on. I wanted to carve out those $10, which I did. I converted the 502s to a 505, so that's maxed for tomorrow, not post tomorrow, meaning when Meta. I figured if we get there prior to Meta, I don't want to be in in the market in a certain way trapped prior to the print, just in case it doesn't hit, and et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see where we are tomorrow. The Qs were great. I did put on a Tesla 150 by 162.5 call spread. I'm not very excited about it. We'll see what Elon does. It'd be nice if he comes out, acts professional, and says some exciting things, and because the report was obviously not so great. If he does, chances are maybe this could have a little bit more room towards 160. That's what I figured. I'm risking 3 to make 9 or so. But again, for me, I feel like it's not going to hold up. But I've seen this before. At least I feel like I didn't go with the puts because it's more, the puts, if I did both. Oh, later, brother. If he gets through 155 later, that's interesting for those trading it. If he speaks and they take him, and and all of a sudden Elon sounds professional and talks about the new model, maybe even talks about a hybrid, who knows? Talks about AI and also about the business because he needs to run the business. Now, this is like your big area. It's like the longs need to keep this going. Otherwise, if there's nothing positive after this, stock, I know I won't look at it again for weeks and months. So we'll see. But this is your daily chart right there. If it were to get above this 155, there are a lot of sellers. Chances are there might be one more move. We'll see. But other than that, I drew out a lot of easy areas to play where hopefully you picked a few spots and you made some good money. I made some good money the last 2 days. I feel like I could always make more, but it is what it is. So let's save this. Let's put this over here. Let's save the Qs. So it's this, this looks like it can go higher. I should have kept some Qs. So that's what kind of annoys me a little bit myself too. Got through 421.18, and this was the spot. We did all right. Now the moving averages are curling down. You can almost probably bring this line down to this low here. This is 432 now. So you want a 432, and this was, a prior area. Remember. So you got to measure zone, so it just went into the first easy zone. And now we see how we react into tomorrow. Let me save this. As far as the banks, some guys caught Goldman really well. On Monday, I was talking about the wedge pattern. And then this morning it was down a little bit. I said he had a chance to play it to 419, cleared this 412. That was yesterday. Cleared 417.80. Gave you a little bit of time before it did, and then made a nice move. Morgan played some catch up. Got above the wedge, and then was up yesterday. Up more, has some room. I didn't play either one, but again, I wasn't focused on the banks. And if me as your chief strategic officer, you got to look at every chart that's posted, and every thought, and then figure out if that's a thought you want to make your own. And now you see what happens there. And then as far as other sectors, real quick, XLE still holding above the prior breakout. Did a better job than the bios did. This came in, retested it, was pretty clean. It's not off to the races, but better than what the XBI did down here. Remember, I was buying options, thinking I just made so much money buying options, then we lost, and now you had your little reflex move back to here. So that was a trade, and does this penetrate a little bit more? It might, but again, that's the easy trade, right? Easy trade. Then it has to prove it could do more than something easy, which means it's got to trade it on its own merits, not just with the market. Like right now, the oscillator is +4, so we're back to neutral to figure out what's next, and it all depends on, I guess, maybe how Tesla will be post Elon, and then maybe Meta tomorrow, and then you have Google and Microsoft Thursday, and then you have the PC Fridays. Still a lot of week left. So don't be just, some guys are like, I'm shorting the SPYs here. This is where we said it was going to go. I'm like, well, today's only Tuesday, and you have a lot of things that have to happen. We have Meta tomorrow and IBM and then ServiceNow, and then you have, again, Google and Microsoft, which are big, and then you have the PCE. So I would just go day by day until you start, cost averaging into a thesis. I know our thesis here was getting back to 505, 506, so that was one thesis. Now, I'd still say there's a better than average chance we see 509, 512, but I'm not in there for that, overnight again, where we've always keep having these gap ups. Yeah. So Texan came out. It's pretty positive. It'll be interesting because Texan hasn't done a whole hell of a lot for a long time. Can Texan get back above 175? Look at the weekly chart. That could be something to watch tomorrow. It's in this big descending trend line, and this might turn into a power play if it get above and hold above. Right now, this is at 175.40-ish. So it's holding up. The video, which this is what the one thing I'm a little upset about for me today is that I'll actually look how this came right back up here. Is I kind of wanted to play it to 818, and then I wanted to kind of short it from 822 to 830, and I kind of got away from it a little bit too early, and then started shorting a little too early, and it turned into a wash versus a really good trade both ways. So now what? Let's get this out of the way. So this high here is 827.55. Sometimes you have to really ask yourself, do you want to do this trade? Shorting was, or fading the other side of it. By the way, right now, Tesla's trying to get through this 155, which it just did. So it's right there on that chart. I had these charts up all day long, by the way. I just can't keep the video up because of my bandwidth. He's going to need a lot of volume to get through there. So here's 820. This is now 839, which is right in here. And then here's 855. So to me, it depends on what we do. Texan really goes and this and that. This would be a pretty big spot. Definitely not a spot to be a buyer. Like I wouldn't be a buyer I wouldn't be buying 839. If we were lower tomorrow, maybe you buy and then you buy through 827. If we're higher tomorrow, probably everyone's going to be fading, but you want to make sure you fade into a spot. It still is NVIDIA. Best stock in the world for now. Tesla was the best stock in the world 3 years ago, and Apple was 5 years, but they all go through phases. Anyway. SMCI played some catch up today. Got above 733, gave a move even further above the 772. That was the spot we said could happen, and it did. 793 went even higher than that. So we'll see where it is tomorrow as it penetrates and comes back up. This is now gone. This is here. This proved a little bit better than the other day. And now we'll see. I guess you could kind of make it like here's your 8-day, which is 830-ish. So really, and then here, this was like what, 855-ish. So 830 to 855 would kind of be a retest of a pretty big area. Right, that would be just getting to the 8-day, which a lot of the things are already back up to. These things you really need to go areas. You're not going to be perfect, to the dollar. If you're playing it long, you need to know where you could sell into. If you're playing it, short, you better know where you could be and give them more space. This is 871. That's here. It's a bit higher. So we come up with levels, points of references. That's all we have in this world. I wonder if Tesla got above it and stayed above it. Nope. There's a lot of sellers there. A lot of sellers. And then, you have Meta, had a nice bounce. We were playing it yesterday into the gap and didn't touch it today just because it was a little loose and wide. I guess you can maybe make like a bigger wedge now. This doesn't mean anything anymore. This is a new resistance probably for prior to numbers tomorrow. Stock is very, very, very priced for perfection. I have nothing on now. We'll see. Stock has come a long way, and maybe it's got more to go. It's pulled in not too much. See what happens tomorrow. I have nothing going on there. What I should have done, if what you talked about, if you wanted to play options, you should have went yesterday when it was really weak into that support spot. But that was hard to do. And then you have Microsoft, which is also had a nice little bounce back up right to resistance. It did a red dog reversal. Here, 397. Me and Chilla were buying yesterday. We should have held some also. Instead, I went with the indices. Sometimes, if I don't know exactly or I have the most confidence in the market, I go with the indices. Oh yeah. So we'll see what it wants to do prior. It's on Thursday. It's got some time. Um, Google also. Google is basically at highs, going into the print as if everybody who's accumulated this stock in the past 2 years knows it's going to be great. So technically, this does look good. It's just better deliver. I'm in neither one of those yet for now, so that's still look great for them. Apple came back up a little bit. They turned the weakening iPhone story into an AI story. Tesla's now a little bit above 155. Now it's at the 156. Just got through it. They said Gene Munster is. This is what's good about the Alpha team. It's like you could sit there with them, and everyone's pointing out information. Now she's talking about how Gene Munster is now trying to sugarcoat the Tesla quarter to find the bull thesis, which is right here. Anyway, so everyone trying helping each other. Anyway, yeah, pretty strong, Bobby. There you go. Hey, maybe we will catch a nice little call spread. It'll be helpful. But again, we still got to get through Elon, which I gotta believe the last thing he wants to do is have this thing down 20 bucks and worried about his shares and this and that. Anyway. Nah, I don't think she's unloading it here. She helps support it actually, but anyway. At least I didn't short. I was gonna. Sometimes when I do these call spreads, I buy the call side and I short more of the high side in order to, help finance it, and then I wind up screwing myself on a great play. I didn't do it this time, so maybe I learned the lesson there. Gold and silver, nice little bottom. Said maybe it could be a good spot versus 213, and she sold into this outside day up here. Maybe you bought some back. That's good for you. I bought some more silver call, say small. Still, has to do a little back and forth. Maybe tries to get in that gap at some point. A little inside action on BITO isn't so bad. Maybe wants to work its way back up into here. FXI, the Chinese guys look like they're ready to break out. That's not bearish. Some guys are in the FXI options and KWeb options. They bought good strikes a little further out because that's what we said, further out. Anyway, nice little move there. Anyway, this is a big spot for China. Let's see what's Tesla doing now. Yeah, it's not running away, but it's hanging in there. A lot of volume. Yeah. All right, guys, listen. 448. I think we did a pretty good job. Could always do better. I feel like I could always do better too. Pretty good job cautioning everybody to get out of the way. Right around here after this trap day, and then although we thought we'd have a few decent type of squeezy days this week, we didn't. Could have been worse. And then finally, a little bit of that fear trade, a little bit of the fast trade, and we had our move back to the 505, 506. So now this is one spot, mission accomplished. If you had a certain amount of size from there to there, congratulations. And now if you want to play smaller size to figure out if you can go from here to here or to here, I wouldn't play more size here if you didn't play it here, because this gets harder to do. Those are my thoughts, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. See where we open and move on from there. There'll be a lot more action, so just make sure you're not doing too many things out there, and you're making sure you're safe and sound. Go, later, guys.